The President of the United States threatened to unleash the military on American citizens protesting the brutal police murder of George Floyd. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Donald Trump's speech last night was one of the most menacing moments in his 3.5 years as president, and that's saying a lot, given that he is always menacing. Remember during the debates when he stalked Hillary Clinton like a naked and afraid contestant trying to sneak up on a bird? I mean, half the time, it looks like he's on a chain in the front yard scaring away a mailman. He only has two modes: menacing sociopath or limp French fry that's been sitting in the bottom of the bag soaking up all the oil. And last night, he cycled through both of them. It turns threatening to unleash the military on American citizens within our borders, and at other times, listlessly reading off a teleprompter like he just finished a Thanksgiving meal of turkey with Sudafed stuffing.
America needs creation, not destruction. Cooperation, not contempt. Security, not anarchy. Healing, not hatred. Justice, not chaos.
Coke, not Pepsi. McDonald's, not Wendy's. Pizza Hut, not Domino's. But if there's no Pizza Hut, Domino's is fine.
He's reading a speech in the middle of a national crisis like a 13-year-old reading from the Torah at a bar mitzvah. Can someone at least show him these speeches before he reads it cold off a teleprompter like he's getting his vision tested at the DMV?
E, S, M, Q. Oh, we love Q. Oh, we love the Q, don't we, folks? So many great words use the Q. Quiznos. Hydroxychloroquine. Quick!
But when he wasn't mindlessly reading off empty platitudes, he was adopting a much darker and more sinister tone, threatening to sick the military on American citizens and violently crack down on nationwide protests over the murder of yet another unarmed black man at the hands of police.
Today, I have strongly recommended to every governor to deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers that we dominate the streets. Mayors and governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence until the violence has been quelled. If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
I know our brains have all melted from the constant, flagrant lawlessness and overall weirdness of this administration, and nothing feels real anymore, and we're all just programmed to move on to the next thing because Trump will inevitably do something bizarre the next day, like throw a tantrum in the Rose Garden or rub up against the flag like a horny 16-year-old at prom. But this is a horrifying moment. You know how for 3.5 years everyone was warning about the inevitable worst-case scenario where our democracy crumbles and our country descends into authoritarianism? That worst-case scenario is here. It's happening. You're not going to get an invitation in the mail asking you to RSVP to the Democracy is Over party. There's no on-off switch. Democracy, it turns out, is on a dimmer. This is what it looks like. In fact, last night, police violently attacked peaceful protesters lawfully exercising their First Amendment rights just so Trump could walk over to a church for a photo op.
Within the last 15 minutes, mounted police have been coming down the street. You're going to see them in the frame now, using flashbangs in front of them and mounted police to clear what has been an entirely peaceful protest. Not 98%, not 99%, but 100% peaceful protest here today. People there was no throwing of water bottles, there was no throwing of objects, but a short time ago, mounted police officers have been clearing the street. Tony, if you can pan to the right, I want to show the military police. I want to show the military police on the side of the street. Over the last half hour, we've had military police, we've had Secret Service officers, we've had park police, and now we've had National Guardsmen. You can see these officers aiming at the protesters who are here in the park.
Military police in your country attacked peaceful protesters, not looters, to stop them from exercising their First Amendment rights. Trump couldn't have done more damage to the Constitution last night if he'd pulled a Sinead O'Connor and ripped it up on live television, then ate the pieces. This moment probably seemed far off when the extent of Trump's lawlessness was just paying off porn stars or colluding with Russia or sending the Soviet Super Mario Brothers over here to get Ukraine to interfere in our election. But he got away with all of that. He got away with all of that, and now the moment has arrived. Because the only lesson Trump has learned through all of this is he can get away with whatever he wants. The president used police to violently attack a peaceful protest just so he could walk over to a church where even the clergy fiercely condemned him, and hold up a Bible in front of the cameras like a fourth grader who forgot about show and tell until the last minute. You can tell he's a man of faith from the way he holds the Bible like he's selling it on QVC. It wasn't even his, and he didn't even seem to know where it came from. A reporter asked him about it, and this was his answer.
Is that your Bible?
It's a Bible.
Why so vague? Did you steal it from a hotel? He holds it like he's never held a Bible before in his life. He probably doesn't know how to read it either. Based on his grasp of Christianity, he probably reads it upside down and backwards.
Lot's wife was a pillar of salt, but then she looked back at Sodom, cured, just like that.
Clergy at the church denounced Trump's actions toward protesters and his use of a church for a photo op. And in case you think maybe the people around Trump will just ignore his lawless authoritarianism, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, a four-star general, was patrolling the streets of D.C. last night. The defense secretary told governors responding to protests that they, quote, need to dominate the battle space. A U.S. senator was calling on the president to send in lethal military units to subdue protesters. And military helicopters also performed a show-of-force maneuver that is often used in combat zones to scare away insurgents. They're treating protesters like insurgents. Honestly, how long until Trump coasts down Pennsylvania Avenue on top of a tank and a Mao suit and a bunch of Gaddafi scarves? What we're seeing now is in part the result of a cult-like political ideology that venerates violence and gleefully elevated an authoritarian strongman who openly fantasizes about armed conflict. For as long as he's been a public figure, Trump has also been an armchair thug who glorifies violence. For example, and this is a true story, Trump used to fast forward through Jean-Claude Van Damme movies so he could just watch the violent parts without any plot. A New Yorker writer who traveled with Trump on his plane in the 90s wrote that he brought along Michael, a recent release, but 20 minutes after popping it into the VCR, he got bored and switched to an old favorite, a Jean-Claude Van Damme slugfest called Bloodsport, which he pronounced an incredible, fantastic movie by assigning to his son the task of fast-forwarding through all the plot exposition, Trump's goal being to get this 2-hour movie down to 45 minutes. He eliminated any lulls between the nose-hammering, kidney tenderizing, and shin-whacking. Trump brought along a VCR copy of the 1996 movie Michael, starring John Travolta as an archangel, whose main mission on Earth is to get the two main characters to fall in love, and he bailed after 20 minutes.
He's an angel? I thought this was about a man pigeon. The cover looks like a man pigeon. Oh, I mean, just imagine the damage a man pigeon would do.
Also, what part of Bloodsport could even be fast-forwarding through anyway? Was there a subplot in Bloodsport I'm not remembering where Van Damme gives up ninjutsu to focus on his love of pottery making? That's why he sits around barfing up psychotic tweets where he threatens protesters with vicious dogs and ominous weapons. Remember, this is a guy who also emulates dictators, who praised China for the Tiananmen Square massacre, and who has repeatedly claimed he's the most militaristic person who has ever existed, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean.
I am the most militaristic person. I would say I am the most militaristic person on that stage.
I am the most militaristic person you've ever had on your show, believe me, okay?
I'm the most militaristic person ever. I am the most military-based and the most militaristic person on your show.
All right, first of all, it's just, an insane thing to brag about. Even actual military people don't call themselves militaristic. It's their job, not their entire personality. Chefs don't describe themselves as being very knife-oriented. Second, you're not. You just aren't. You were never in the military, you dodged the draft, and you can't even stand upright. You love the military the way you love the Constitution and the Bible. Only when it serves you, and that is not love. Which you would know if you finished Michael. He had a message for you. And now we're seeing what happens when a rotten-brained boomer who glorifies violence is in charge of the most powerful military in the world. Yesterday, he shouted at governors on a phone call that they needed to dominate protesters with mass arrests.
You have to dominate. If you don't dominate, you're wasting your time. They're going to run over you. You're going to look like a bunch of jerks. You have to dominate. And you have to arrest people, and you have to try people, and they have to go to jail for long periods of time. You're making a mistake because you're making yourself look like fools.
First of all, there's no deader giveaway that you're the villain than using the word fools. You never hear someone say, "Make sure those refugees get something warm to eat." You fools! We can't just wait until November and hope to vote Trump out. We need to stand up to him now to stop the country's descent into authoritarianism before it's too late. This has been A Closer Look. New York City is in crisis, and City Harvest has been stepping up to rescue and deliver more food to meet the increased need in New York City. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe. Wash your hands. We love you.